I don't apologize for being a thorn in the ass of mainstream law enforcement as it relates to their practices, policies, and culture. I feel much better now. Much better, much better. So, my name is Neill. I am a recovering police officer. This is really great. Love being here, guys. Love being here. You guys are wonderful. Last week, and I must say this, Marlene talked about this not being a single issue, so I'm going to give you guys another issue to throw into the mix here. And it's what I'm about, Law Enforcement Against Prohibition. We're an organization of other reforming law enforcement professionals who realize that there's a drastic need to end the war on drugs. And that's not just in our country, but this is an international issue. So that's what we are struggling for. Last week I gave a presentation to an organization in Baltimore called the Baltimore Ethical Society, which is an organization of very progressive activists. And it was a very moving experience for me. It opened up with the leader, a gentleman by the name of Hugh. He was very talented, and he played the guitar, and he led the group in song. And one of the things he said, one of the phrases in his song that he had put together just for the presentation that I did, it related to justice. And the phrase was, "Justice is blind." But then, when I got up to take the podium, I realized that I just had the strong urge to comment on that. And I said that justice is not blind. And I don't believe that the intent was ever for justice to be blind. You see, when you look at Lady Justice, you see three symbols. Number one is there's the sword, and it symbolizes the court's coercive power. And then there's the human scale, and that's the weighing of competing claims. And the third is she's wearing a blindfold. She's wearing a blindfold. And I believe that the significance to that is that it was intended to indicate that justice is not blind. And that we have to be very careful. We have to be very careful because being that justice is blindfolded, we can actually peek. We can take a look. And that we have to be aware of this as we go about the business of criminal justice. And we have to, and just real quick in closing, I want to talk about how I got to this point. And this isn't very easy for me. So how did I get from this point of locking up so many people, being this hard charger in law enforcement? And Cole, I am a retired state trooper and I would be your chauffeur any day. But how did I get to this point? 10 years ago, a good friend of mine and co-worker, Ed Choatley, who was a narcotics agent in Maryland, was assassinated by a drug dealer in Washington, D.C. He was making a final buy of cocaine from this person. And this person felt that he needed to kill Ed in order to keep the money and the drugs. Ed was survived by his wife and 3 kids, and it was very devastating to them, and it was also very devastating to me. And it was because of that I felt the need that I had to take a really good look at what was going on with our drug policies in this country. And as I continued to move in this direction, I began to learn that it wasn't just dangerous for cops, it was dangerous for kids, the drive-by shootings, all the innocent people being caught in the crossfire. our neighbors in Mexico and Venezuela in the past 4 years, 30,000 plus murdered at the hands of the cartel in Mexico, 40,000 in Venezuela, and the list goes on and on and on and on. The thousands of people being murdered here in this country. And I started to learn about all of the harms associated with the war on drugs, including the ones that I spoke about today regarding women, and there's a whole lot more regarding women and how damaging it is for women. That's what it took for me, that traumatic experience, but it doesn't have to be that way for you. The information that we in law enforcement against prohibition supply, this knowledge for you, and we have a booth in the back manned by, with Roger back there, and this information is available. You don't have to experience what I experienced, even though some of you already may have in different ways. So as Gudgy said, knowledge to productivity. Knowledge to productivity. It's time to get busy with the many issues that you're hearing about here today, including this one. It's time to get busy to change this world. Let's end drug prohibition and solve so many other issues in this world. Let's go to work. Thank you.